And we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Plate Stack Chat. Yes, it's a live show, and hopefully people know the drill by now. My name is Jason, or Jason Sif Media if you prefer, and I invite along some wonderful people for a chat. Last show, I was joined by two lovely ladies, so to balance things up, today I have two fantastic fellas. First up, we have someone who's been in the CrossFit world for a while now. His first Open was back in 2013. He has been to regionals, semi-finals on a team. He is a level 2 CrossFit coach. And while it's true that he also coaches F45, don't hold that against him. And just to prove how pure CrossFit he is, the Dave Castro himself has used him at the ranch to test out workouts. His name is Mike Olivas, but most people know him by his nickname. Please welcome the one and only Pool Boy.
What's up, guys? I love
look,
that. That was a nice intro. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. And it didn't kick you out, which is good, which is what
not
tends
yet,
to happen when you go live on StreamYard. So
knock on wood.
that's good. Now, joining Pool Boy and myself is an incredible athlete. In fact, at just 15 years of age, he won the CrossFit Games in the boys division. He did it again at 16 and 17. But now he's a little older, a little wiser, and a lot fitter, finishing 5th at the CrossFit Games last year, in the big boys games, that is. And it looks like he's making a charge to improve on that finish this year, taking 2nd place at a pretty stacked semi-final and making sure Roman Krennikov knows he can't rely on him making mistakes to win. Please welcome to the show the rising star that is Dallin Pepper.
Quite the intro. I agree with Pool Boy.
It's all the research I do. That's
there
like,
you go. I love
now,
it.
I relax and nothing else is prepared.
Yeah.
Guys, how are you?
I got a question right off the bat.
Yeah.
Pool Boy, when were you testing workouts?
Unfortunately, not recently. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Dallin's
I know
like,
that's
so,
been a
what were you
secret. It's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I know we don't know who's at the ranch right now, but if I can corner you, I'm going to.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm only about 30 minutes from Dave, but this was about, I don't know. Jason, you might even know better than me. This was 3-4 years ago. Before the pandemic. It was before the pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But still, you never know. Maybe Dave is planning that many years ahead. So you were testing workouts that are going to show up this year. Who knows?
That is true. I mean, I won't lie. I did do a movement like photo shoot a few years back with like Bosman and them, and they had me doing a bunch of just like monkey stuff. And I remember doing it. I'm like, there's no way they're going to ever do this movement. And then flash forward like 2 years, the crossover double under came out, or the single under double under, and I was like, oh shit, they actually used it.
Yeah.
Okay, I just have to address something in the comments straight away. Jason, why were you completely dressed up on the recent Jeopardy episode? Now, there's a reason for that, obviously. I was on the Glinton Things podcast some time ago, and they asked me if I was going to go on CrossFit Jeopardy, or what I thought about the CrossFit Jeopardy show. And my only observation was that Chase says he dresses up for the show, but he still wears a cap, and I find that unacceptable. So jump ahead, and I also said I would be terrible at the show, and then jump ahead, a couple of months, I'm invited on, so I completely dressed up, full suit, and I was terrible at the show. I think I was minus $2,000 at the end. So that was.
I just finished watching that one this morning.
Oh, did you?
I've been commenting. I said I'm just waiting for my invite because I seem to win every single week. But
yeah. Well, what
at home?
What kind of annoyed me was there's very few I know that, and people don't know that questions.
Yeah.
And I'd listen to all the other shows, and a couple of times, it was like the. James Newbury winning Ring of One.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm sure that's James Newbury, and that's James Newbury. I was like, oh man, I knew. The problem is I've got a very finite number of those, and the fact that I've already heard them means they're not coming up again.
They're not coming back.
So I was like, yeah. Oh well, look who's in the comments. Barkley's here. I can put in a good word with Chase.
They said they were going to invite me, but.
I've never watched the show. Do you have to answer the question in the form of a question?
Yes.
Theoretically, but I find in order to do that, you have to be able to answer some of the questions. And that was my weakness, was just not being able to answer the questions. And also, we didn't, Barkley, you're listening. We didn't get any methodology questions or anything like that. It was all kind of games and like the sport focus. And there wasn't really, and I'd been rereading the L1 manual. I was like, I'm going to make sure I'm brushed up on the methodology. maybe some of the none of that. So
Barclay, keep it games related for me. I'll walk away a champion.
yeah. So well, that is a detour that we've gone. I like to see. Have you done around the whiteboard?
I did do one. Pedro was home cooking. I lost by like half a point or something.
Who did you go up against?
O'Keefe and Spin.
Oh yeah, well that's because he,
Yeah.
I also went up against Spin, so I know that's
Spin's good.
Just like slides a half point in there for no reason. I did get some bonus points for going after O'Keefe a little bit. So.
Oh, did you? Yeah. I won. I managed to win. I managed to beat Josh Bridges. So
Oh, there you go.
That's I'll always have that on my resume.
That's big time.
And then I was in the following time when I was invited back, I was with John Young and Brian Spin. And
yeah.
And yeah, it didn't go well. Oh, Clydesdale also wants to be on Jeopardy. Barkley, there you go. Get Dallin and Scott.
There we go.
There's an episode for you. Go do it quickly. Don't let Casey win a third.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't know we were going to talk about that. I was so stressed about that as well. I really didn't want to do
it. You crushed it.
I was just there for entertainment. That's all. I had a question for you, Dallin. What was it?
Yeah. What's it?
Oh, so they just released the cut schedule.
Yeah.
And I heard you tell Dave Castro that you don't even care. You're not even worried about the cuts.
Yeah, I think there's a video from last year. I think it was on Spin, and it was actually a really funny video where they put like the Thug Life and the glasses, because I had a very similar answer, and I don't think anything's changed from last year when there was cuts. I never planned to be in a position to have cuts. That's obviously like selfishly. I know maybe like Pat and Brent have been outspoken about not having cuts for, and their reasonings are great. But for me, I'm just completely focused on what I'm doing at the games, and we sign up to play whatever game it is, and there's nothing we can really change about that. So I'm just there to do my thing.
That's because true G's stay silent like lasagna. Dallin's
a great line.
Dallin's just like, whatever, bring it.
Are you a fan of the cuts, Pool Boy?
I'm like in the middle. I mean, I can take them, I could leave them. Like, I understand the reasoning for them. I also would be fine and understand the reasonings for keeping all the athletes there.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't cost you anything.
No, because I'll never go.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I understand as well. Like, as typical Jason Siff media fashion, I'm down the middle. I see both sides. I did do a video maybe a year or two ago where I spoke to like a number of different athletes from different parts of the world on how much it costs them to physically get to the games.
Yeah.
And that, and you get that, it's kind of like, okay, they're paying out a lot of money, especially if they're traveling from, I think like one of them, maybe it was like Sahakaya was one of them that was like having to go to Asia for the semifinal, then having to go to the games, living in Norway. Like it's
from a fan's perspective, I don't really care too much about the cuts. I mean, I take them or leave them. I care more about like getting the fittest people at the games. And right now, the way the process is, I don't think we are truly getting the fittest at the games. For example, the craziness that's happening over in Asia right now, and you see athletes like Colton Mertens sitting at home, and some of the guys in the East that didn't make it that are just sitting at home. And you have like, what do they backfill the fifth person in Asia or something like that?
Yeah. So I had a little thought about that. Here we go. Is obviously like so you've got two spots, person in first or second, whatever they pop. So you're going to backfill the third. Okay. As soon as you have to backfill to like the fourth, so you're going past what, you've already gone past the next qualifying spot. I think that's when you should start looking to other regions to be like, well, do we have somebody who is the next qualifier that should go up?
And how would they determine that though? Because like I heard a lot of people were saying, I forget what it was. Was it maybe in Dave's Week in Review or Savon's Games Update show where people were, or maybe it was the comment from Barbell Spin's Instagram post where like once Asia guys got popped, everyone was saying like Colton should get the next spot. Colton should get the next spot. But how would you determine that? because the East is just as stacked. You know, who's to say like the last person who didn't qualify doesn't deserve it more than Colton going.
I don't know. I make them go head to head with Dallin in a workout.
Like the other thing that makes it tough is like you could look at we didn't do not all the regions did the same first workout, so it makes the semifinal leaderboard like across the world irrelevant. I don't know what looking at like worldwide rank would be. I still don't fully understand all of those. But yeah, it's definitely a weird situation.
Yeah. Oh, Barclays, sounds like we need a rating system that compares all the athletes to each other. Yeah. Yes, Barkley. If only we knew someone that could do something like that. That would be great. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because just hit my chair.
Oh, fall.
I'm already short. I can't afford to do this. No, I kind of I like the global nature, and I think it is good to have representation from everywhere. But at the same time, you want the fittest people there, so you kind of want it to be like balanced in both ways, and that's quite tough. But we'll see. But I mean, anyway, I also I'm also kind of, and this goes a little bit back to like Dan, your point about not being worried about like getting cut. Is I always think with like the regions and like locking the regions in. I mean, like, oh well, I just think just let people compete where they live. And like the theory of but then someone will go to a weaker region, and it's like okay, but if you need to go to a weaker region to get to the games, you're probably getting cut, right? Like that's and then let them go and get cut. That's fine, okay. Like it's annoying if you are the fittest in Africa and you didn't get the spot because someone from America came over and stole your spot. But also, I hope that would annoy them enough to like double down and be even better next year. So
I mean, competitive.
Actually, last year I did the opposite. I ended up moving to a harder region, and somehow still made it on a team to semis at least. Because I live out in California, and so technically I'm on the West. But I had this really weird opportunity to join a team out in Boston last year. So I lived out in Boston for like 6 months. So I went out to the East, a arguably way harder region, especially individuals. And I mean, even on the team side, I learned that it's just as crazy competitive. It's nuts.
Yeah. Do you enjoy this part of the season, Alan? Like now that you've got your ticket, you've earned your ticket, you've done what you needed to qualify for the games. You've done everything apart from punch your ticket, because we're not saying that anymore. But you've done what you need to do. So now you are like, it's kind of that final push, right? The training up to the game. Is this like, is it enjoyable, or would you rather just be like there now? Is kind of the anticipation annoying?
Yeah, it's an interesting question with so many different aspects to it. But I guess the way to describe like this time of year is very long days, very short weeks. It's also, when I think back to the last 2 years, like these 2 months are the days that stand out so like clearly in my mind. I have such crazy memories of the long training days, certain workouts, like all the different emotions that come with it and all that. And so I enjoy it, especially in the fact that I know like these are the days that I'll look back on 20, 30 years from now, and just like think about how cool it was. And so I try and enjoy it in the moment as much as I can, but there are days that are just really hard. And everyone that says like, oh, I love games training so much, like they're lying for the most part. Like it is fun and it's cool and it's exciting that we get to do this, but it's not easy. And it can definitely be wearing. In terms of like, you get to do a lot of fun things that are different than the rest of the season. That part's great, but I enjoy some of the off-season training, like really building a base and just focusing on some weakness stuff. But yeah, so yes, there's days I do and there's days I don't, I guess is the simple answer.
I'm really tempted to ask what the weakness stuff is, but we'll leave that because I don't want you to give your competitors an edge. I want you to tell them.
All you got to do is look at the leaderboard.
Well, I have a question for Dallin. I've always been curious about the games aspect training. What would you say is a harder thing to get past the physical aspect of training or the emotional aspect of training? Like, for example, you wake up and your body is just absolutely wrecked versus you wake up and you just have no motivation. Which one is easier to overcome? If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I guess for me, it's kind of hand in hand. So, like, for example, yesterday was the start of a deload week. Like, we're always just looking to get to deload week, hit checkpoints. And, I had great energy last Tuesday, last Wednesday. Thursday's a big conditioning day. And then I'm like hanging on by a thread Friday and Saturday and knowing that deload's coming. So, like, both emotionally and physically, I'm just like push it off, get through these 2 days. And then come yesterday morning, it is deload week, but we're still pushing the running. And I wake up and my body and my mind are like, yo, it's supposed to be deload week. What are we doing right now? And like, just body and mind was like, it's very tied together. I don't know if I can answer like which one's harder because they are so connected. But one thing that I've been watching a lot of running stuff on YouTube, and there's a coach from NAU who works with Nico Young, who just qualified to the Olympics in the 10K. But just like taking the emotion out of reps for him in running. And so same thing for me, like taking the emotion out of any sort of piece that you may be tempted to get emotional about in a way, and not like crying or whatever, but like nervous, all this stuff, like just take the emotion completely out and just do it. So that's one thing I use when the mental side of it does get tough.
So I'm quite happy to hear this because you were supposed to come on the show last Thursday. And now you've come on today, and now I'm thinking that was probably really good for the show because hearing how dead you are by Thursday, and now we're in deload week, and you're feeling better. I think, probably we've got a better version of you here on the show today.
Yeah, I'm a little more rested today.
Yeah, good question. This is why I bring Paul Boy on the show. Look at that.
You're welcome.
He's got all the good questions.
I have one more small question. Does your training work days versus rest days change come game season versus like the off season? Because like, typically everyone's rest days are Thursdays and Sundays, but obviously you're training through games wise. You're going to do an event on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah. For me, I've never been at a competition and like, I've always rested Sunday. I've always done Sunday, Thursday, with like Thursday being either a run or a swim. That's just always worked for me. And I've never been at a competition and woken up on a Sunday like, oh, I'm not supposed to work out today. Like I've never felt that. And so for me, Sunday is always rest day. The 2 months between semis and the games last year, we actually went full rest Sunday and Thursday. I got to talk with Matt, we may do this through this last training cycle. We might switch to that and like up the volume a little bit for the three days and 2 days that we are on. This last training cycle, it was Sunday rest, regular training, and then Thursday has been ruck run, biking, and swimming, and then 2 more days on, and then back to rest. So that's kind of what the training split looks like right now.
Yeah, I like to hear that you're bringing the ruck in. It's almost like we're pretty much guaranteed that the ruck will show up at the games.
There's got to be something.
Yeah, a couple of people asking about the beard, Dallin.
Honestly,
is Dallin growing a playoff beard, or is this a permanent thing?
I know my wife likes the facial hair, but honestly, it's just like I don't have the energy to shave or trim it up at all. So,
Have you lived in Florida your whole life down, or?
No, we moved here the beginning of 2022, January 2022.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you next if you jumped on the Stanley Cup train since Florida won it.
I follow. There's a guy who runs a meme page. Like he runs like Florida Man, white people humor. And he's from Florida, and I've only followed along because he's making fun of the Canadians that like Florida is the hockey capital of the world. Like so that's really all I know about
it. Jeffrey's asking a few questions. So Jeffrey asked, first of all, Dallin, do you look 20 or 30 years down the road?
Absolutely. Whether it's goals or dreams that we have, stuff we want to do. But I think I'm always preparing for the future. Like I'm always trying to set myself up for success.
Yeah. And then he had a medium question, which is, do you take Sunday off because of religious purposes or just because?
Just because. That's the
because.
day I find there's nothing going on, so might as well rest.
Yeah. I also quite like Gus has gone with he slapped his ticket. That could be the new. So we might move to that from now on. Quite like it.
I like that.
So another thing I want to bring up is a couple of things with you, Dallin, that I found really interesting this season in particular is one, kind of all the other stuff you've done, like on YouTube with Saban and all of that, because it seems like, I mean, honestly, quarterfinals is the most boring part of the season. Everybody, it's like top secret for everyone. It's sort of we can't show you anything, or actually, it's worse than that, because what you do see is like almost highlight reels coming out of camps and stuff, or like little pictures, or just a picture, and then us like a caption telling us how their athletes are absolutely smashing these workouts, and you're like, great, can we see it? No, top secret. Whereas ironically, perhaps if more people had shared what they were doing, might have been less penalties, who knows? But that's besides the point. But it was, it was great that you guys, what you guys did, putting it out there and being like, well, we're gonna, we'll do it. And I quite like, I think when I had James Sprague on, he was saying, because like he's really filled out his profile on the games website, so you can go on there and it's like, it's very, and I think he was on with Tyler Watkins, and we had the card, the ones on the card, and we were comparing the stats on the game's profile with the stats on the card and just checking if they matched. And his reasoning was like, if you know how much I can lift, that doesn't make you any stronger. Like, knowing it isn't going to suddenly give you the ability to outlift me or or outpace me in a run or whatever. I kind of think with the quarterfinals, like, if I see your performance and now I know what it is, I'm still not catching you. Like, I'm just, it is what it is, right? And also it's just a stepping stone then on to the next stage of competition as well. So, okay, what it is. But it's been very good that you guys kind of did something we could actually watch, we could actually enjoy. The other thing is the whole you and Hopper kind of back and forth, at semifinals and just in general on social media and stuff like that. Like, was that okay? Is that just because that's the way you guys are anyway? Are you kind of actively thinking, no, we want people to see that there is this kind of thing that, like, what's the thought process behind it?
Yeah. First I'll answer the quarterfinals, and like, I think there is an advantage to people who watched us, because it would just be like being in the final heat at the games. Getting to see someone execute a workout, see what does work, what doesn't work, where it's won, where it's lost. That is very true. But like, if we're going out to do a mile or a max back squat, James is spot on. Like, no one's going to run faster because someone else is going to, or lift heavier. Like, you're going to give your absolute best. And maybe there's a push if you're running next to someone. But in terms of execution, I think there is an advantage. But all of us kind of had the mindset like, well, maybe you'll gain something from it, but you still have to beat us. So there's still that thought to it. But yeah, quarterfinals was a blast. Definitely hope to do it again.
Yep.
And then with me and Jason, honestly, I'm not sure how it all really started. We didn't like each other. I guess you could say we didn't like each other originally, because we were both young rookies. He made it the year I missed by one spot. He didn't want me to make it because he wanted to be the young rookie. I'm watching him slobber all over and fall with that sandbag that first year. I loved watching that. Like, then we ended up training together. We get along really well. There was a lot of shit talking constantly. Like, that's not just something we're putting out there. But I would say we are trying to like create entertainment for the fans, because without the fans, we aren't able to do what we do. And so, like, we love their support. We want their support, but we got to give something in return. We got to give something that people will enjoy, and give them a reason to pick a side between me and Jason. Like, that's even better. Like, if you want to hate on me, love Jason, or vice versa, like, that just creates excitement, and people get more invested in the sport in general.
Because the reason it's like kind of caught my attention a little bit is for years and years we were hearing how CrossFit needs a villain. It's like, CrossFit needs a villain. You need to be able to kind of boo somebody, and it's like, and I've never really, it just doesn't to me ever feel like that fits within CrossFit, like the idea of a villain. And then seeing you guys, I'm like, oh, CrossFit doesn't need a villain. It just needs some people with personality, and then and that are willing to like show that personality. And then, as you said, like I might be like, well, I'm on Team Dallin, so like it's not that I don't like Jason. I just want Dallin to beat him. That's all. Like that's, and I think that's good.
And maybe like there are villains, like everyone has a different villain, but I like sure there could be like a villain in the sport if people wanted it to be, but if anything, there needs to be rivalries and create what other sports have. Like rivalries are so important.
We need a Kendrick and Drake thing in CrossFit.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm really interested to know who
I
the
hope
villain
I'm
is.
Kendrick, because Drake got destroyed.
That's
Okay, Barkley is Team Edward, so that worries me.
Okay, yeah, we need Team Jacob, Team Edward.
And because if they're close enough in fitness level, they can benefit. I didn't benefit from having their scores because I couldn't beat them. I'm in the same boat. Now, Jeffrey asks an interesting question here. Oh, no, not that one. Doesn't Dallin have a card? Dallin does have a card. And I'm glad you bring this up, Jeffrey, because everyone kept telling me about getting a card from Dallin at FitFest and how, Dallin was handing out signed cards at FitFest.
I was handing that.
Dallin, where's my signed card at FitFest? That's all I've got. That's what I got to say. I mean, up here I've got my Ariel Lowen card that I got signed at FitFest, but
they were in such high demand, and I'll be honest, I was partial to the kids that were watching. So
that's funny because
gotta give it to them.
Who was it that told me they got one this week? Gavin.
I mean, I'm sure someone
that
did.
was one of the sport directors at the competition. He got one. He's not a little kid.
All right, I'll speak with Wad Zombie because I have a new card coming out, and I wish I could share more details, but it will be funny. It will be exciting. So keep your eye out for that.
Okay, hear that, Jeffrey? Because he says he'd love to have one.
I hope it's like the one he made for Taylor Self of him in a dress. Do you remember that one at West Coast?
I think I saw a picture of that.
I did see a picture of that, right? Yeah. And I will take this opportunity to plug them because I do it every opportunity. If you want the trading cards and you live in Europe or the UK, you can now buy them through Rising Tide. And that means you are not paying. So like the other day they posted up like some of the rookie cards were going on sale. And they were like, I don't know, like $250, something like that, some ridiculously low price. And then it was like £16 shipping. So I was like, yeah, that's which is what, $20? So I was thinking that's not worth it.
Yeah.
But if you buy them through Rising Tide, then you're not paying those very, very steep shipping fees. So can Dallin sign it? John still needs to pay up his $5. I'm like,
I can sign whatever you want. Augustus is a homie. He's got my back.
Yeah. Buck says Dallin's new one is my favorite to design. There we go. Oh, and Scott's trying to get a few signed as giveaways on our show.
Oh, that'd be dope.
All right, I'm going to start entering some competitions on the Clydesdale show if I want to get my cards. I actually will be picking up some cards this weekend because there is SID UK Champs at the NEC. So we're back in Birmingham again for a competition there. And I will be meeting up with Rising Tide in person and picking up some cards. Cool. So that'll be nice. Did you enjoy FitFest, by the way?
I loved FitFest. So much. It was so much fun. Really cool event. I'm excited to see Tier Wadapalooza SoCal kind of implement a similar format. It was really fun for all of us athletes. I hope the fans felt the same. But also, it also made me very excited to have Rogue in Scotland because the European fan base is so cool. They're legends. I mean, we saw it at the European semifinal. Everyone just so excited, so involved. That's the other cool thing about Europe is like all the different countries are represented and everyone's cheering for people from their country. And it's just a little different than the U.S. And I know they're trying to do like the East versus West, like World Cup or something. But like the fans there just made it everything.
Yeah, I had Yellow Hoste on the show. and we were talking about that like
Mhm.
if someone's holding up a Belgian flag,
Yeah.
that's for him. Like,
Yeah.
whereas, if you're in, like, someone might be there and they're cheering for you, and it's like,
Yeah.
great, they're cheering for Dallin, and then they're cheering for Justin, and then they're cheering for Colton, and it's like, it's great. And of course, you can like all those people, like, that's great.
Yeah.
But it's hard for you to be like, well, are they really cheering for me? Like, is this really for me?
Yeah.
Unless they're wearing like the Dallin shirts, then you
Yeah.
kind of know. But I was
I
like,
mean, I have a solution for Dallin. You just need like a custom flag that just has like a big pepper shaker or pepper grinder on it, and then people
just
will
start
know.
selling flags.
Yes.
It'd be
Yes.
crazy.
Or just not even flags, just sell those big, like, fancy restaurant pepper grinders, and people know.
Yeah,
It's here for
and
pepper.
just-
It's for Dallin Pepper.
Everyone just hold them.
well, Dallin, there's that picture of you licking that massive piece of salt.
Yeah.
Could we just find a giant piece of pepper?
Yeah, something like that. It gotta be something.
There's got to be pepper caves, right? There's
Yeah,
salt caves.
pepper
Surely,
mine.
surely.
Awful.
Speaking of rising tide, there they are. So come back to FitFest this year, and I'll bring a pen, and then they corrected
I would
themselves
do
with
it.
saying Dallin. Otherwise, I'll be bringing a pen to Rogue at this point. Then that's
There
what
you
I've
go.
understood. So yeah, you gonna jump across the pond, poor boy? Come over to Rogue?
No.
No.
Dude, I have this weird thing about flights. Like, I'm already hopping on a plane to go see my my girlfriend in Australia on Thursday, 4th of July, and I'm just dreading the 15-hour flight. So I hate long flights. So
Really?
most likely not.
Yeah, and then at the end, like, at least on that flight, you arrive. There's your girlfriend, and you're in Australia.
It's true.
Whereas,
It's true.
Scotland in November is not the same as Australia. I can
No,
tell you that.
I wouldn't know. What did they film Game of Thrones there? Or was that Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings was in New Zealand.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, there was probably bits also in Scotland.
I know they did some Game of Thrones. They also some Harry Potter, I believe. I could be wrong. You guys Game of Thrones fans?
Dude, I am diehard Game of Thrones.
So good.
Are you watching House of Dragon?
Yeah, so when the first season came out last year, we had just finished watching Game of Thrones for the second time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very slow first season, and so we ended up giving up like 6 episodes in just because we were busy. And I think just the mental grind of getting through the Game of Thrones for the second time, because you got to focus. Like, it's not just like relaxing. But then we picked it back up again, tried it again. We watched 5.5 episodes on Sunday, rest day, right?
Nice.
It's like 6 hours in front of the TV. And then we got 20 minutes left of episode 3 that we'll finish tonight. But
dude,
it's so good.
That episode was slow. Episode 3, though, I wasn't too hyped on it.
Jeffrey says, just watch the latest episode of House of Dragons while watching this.
Well, you're not paying enough attention.
Yeah, I was going to say, what
that.
Yeah, to which one? To this show or to House of Dragons?
Either. You got to be focused.
Yeah.
On this show, you've got to be focused.
I silence everything. My girlfriend gets mad at me because
it's like subtitles on, so you know who everyone is. Like, you got to lock in, pause it. It's like, let's make sure we know who everyone. Yeah, so good though.
So that is your rest day activity then?
Yeah.
It's interesting because it's a question I've asked a lot of like the games athletes I've had on, is kind of, how do you disconnect? Because you are so like, you're training. When you train, you're doing CrossFit, you're thinking about the next competition, you're having to post on your social media stuff because of your sponsors, because of the people that are helping you get to the game. So it's all encompassing. It's just CrossFit. You come on here, and as much as I'm like, we don't have to talk about CrossFit, it always tends to drift into CrossFit. And so I asked, like, how do you just switch off from that? Because surely mentally you need to take a break. You can't just be. Yeah, I mean, it's Game of Thrones, apparently.
I mean,
who knew?
Luckily, I enjoy CrossFit, so that helps. Like, I'm a fan of the sport in general, so that does help a lot. But yeah, I think watching anything that's not CrossFit related, we play a lot of board games with our friends. Right now, we play Ticket to Ride. I don't know if you guys know that one, but it's a little bit of strategy. It's called Ticket to Ride.
Ticket to Ride, no.
Yeah, we're really big on Settlers of Catan.
I was gonna say that's more my
It's very similar. It's very similar. to an extent. But yeah, like those things, like if I can just lock in and get super competitive on the game for an hour and a half, like I don't think about CrossFit, so that's nice.
All right. Love a good train game. Okay.
Yeah.
Ah.
What
Is it a
about
train
sports?
game?
What's your sport? Like outside of CrossFit, I meant professional
Yeah,
sport.
I grew up playing or like watching.
Yeah.
Honestly, I used to follow like when I was 12, 13, I could give you every stat in the MLB, who's leading what, who's like everything. But I haven't watched a whole lot. I enjoy watching sports. Or like right now, I'm watching the Tour de France because of the Unchained documentaries. Like gotten hooked on that. Can't watch the whole 6 hour race, but I like to keep up with it and watch the behind the scenes type stuff. I guess more than anything, I just really like watching people who are great at what they do.
Has the fact that you are, at the top tier of your chosen sport, like, has that changed the way when you watch? You're saying you enjoy watching people that are great at stuff, and I think when other people watch sport, they're like, yeah, I know these people are, the best at what they do because they're on these teams, and we kind of even know, I know how hard it is, and how much they give, and how, the dedication, the sacrifices, and all of that, and we kind of do, but there is a disconnect because the
Yeah,
majority of us haven't done that. The fact that you have done that, does that just change the way you view sport in general now?
yeah, I think it does just because I'm trying to figure out like ways we do relate or things that they do that I could implement. And something as simple like there's a minor league hockey team here in Jacksonville, and we were watching, and I was just like watching the goalie because he had a very strict routine. Like at the start of every, I don't understand hockey that much, but like every time puck stopped, that play stopped, it was the same thing every single time, and I really enjoyed. He's in the minor leagues, like he's not like some like the crazy professional hockey player, but just like watching athletes and how they deal with situations, how they deal with stress, pressure, body language, all that stuff, and watching the greats, you can actually learn a lot.
I was also interested by your comment about kind of you started watching Tour de France because of the documentary, like that pulled you in. So obviously you've got the behind the scenes. We've had in the past things like Road to the Games. I mean, we've just talked about the quarterfinal stuff you've been doing. The Wadapalooza mic'd up
Yeah, that was so good.
that was, I mean, that is the best. Like, what was it, a 5K the run, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, like that's the most interesting 5K I've ever seen.
yeah,
Because normally, like,
Yeah, we
it's
need more stuff
just
like
people
that in
running.
CrossFit. We need like more of the athletes mic'd up. Like that's I'm a huge diehard like NFL football fan, and like that's one of my favorite things is when they like mic up the athletes and you just hear them like you hear what's going on in the sidelines or on the field, like the shit talking that's happening or just the friendly banter between athletes. Like that's the stuff the sport needs more of.
Even if they had like mics all around the finish line.
Yeah,
Stuff like
that too.
Yeah.
There's like it's that weird, like the people that do well, it's like that super high, like we crushed it, and like giving high fives, like that was a sick race. This happened. And then there's the people who didn't do so well, and there's still conversation being had. There's a lot of stuff that happens on the finish line. But
yeah, I mean, that would be great, just having the mics there, and because everybody knows they're there, but it's also when you're going to get the rawest emotion, because even like even the interviews that you do, like, I mean, unless it's kind of a sprint event that everybody's finishing in 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, let's say if you've won the event, you've probably finished, a decent chunk of time before the event's over.
Yeah.
So they've got that time to compose themselves, think about what they're going to say, a little bit, kind of get taken off to the side. But yeah, you're not getting that immediate kind of, I'd love to hear somebody who can't believe they actually won that event, like did not think they were going to win and cross the line and realize they've won, like that reaction and how they feel in that moment. I think would be more honest than kind of a few minutes later being like, oh yeah, we looked at the strategy. I didn't know if this was going to be a good one. It's like, okay, but that's.
See, I'm kind of the opposite. I want to hear like someone like Dallin, like who already finished the event, and he's just like looking at the guy in last, going, "Dude, that dude's still fucking going." Shit.
Or even people kind of doing the math, like 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 pleading for someone to get ahead of somebody else who's close to them on the leaderboard.
Yeah.
Being like, like, oh, Spray, come on, I need you to get between him. Come
Yeah.
on, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, like having Travis Mayer mic'd up like on that last event watching, that'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, where he's not, because he was in the third heat.
Yeah, I think second to last heat or something like that.
Yeah.
Like miking up those that are on the bubble would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be crazy.
Like,
or just like having someone stand over there, like similar to the Tour de France, like in the live stream there, showing like the radio communications, like just have someone down there, and then they can play like clips of what's being said during the final event. If it's not a 3-minute event, then that makes it kind of hard. But
because I think one of like the really interesting things was in one of the behind the scenes, there's like I can't think who he's with, but there's Brent Fikowski and maybe 2 other people, and they're watching an event like on the monitor, and you can hear them discussing like things about the event, like analyzing how the first heat's going and stuff like that, and you're like, that's interesting, like that's what you want to hear, and that will bring, that draws you in more than it just popping up on ESPN and being like, oh, okay, yeah, what are they doing? I don't know, okay, move on. Like you need stories,
or like show the warm-up area on the live stream. It doesn't, maybe it's not
as opposed to just an empty field.
And like see how the athletes are interacting. Like there doesn't need to be a mic. I think to an extent, like some privacy is kind of nice, but like that's a spot where you're talking with your coach or whatever. But like there are things happening. There's mind games, interactions, sometimes laughing, nervous laughing, whatever it might be. But it'd be cool.
Yeah,
I'm looking at Type 1 Lifting's comment. Thomas, why would the ladies be moaning after their event? I don't get it. Don't mic up the ladies. They'll be moaning after the events. I mean, why are they moaning? Crossing the finish line.
Well, hold on. I was thinking that I like your idea of like the warm-up area, and even actually no sound I think would even be better there, because it would allow you in your mind to like build your own narrative a little bit, because the likelihood is we're not going to see it all play out. We're not going to hear all those stories, at least not for a long time till after. Whereas they could have, the graphics up of the next heat, the next lanes, what the event is. But in the background, we're just seeing you guys kind of getting on and off a bike, and then what did Dallin whisper to Jason as he walked past him on the bike, like that kind of that would be cool.
Yeah, that's a good point, because one of my favorite things to, like, I'm also a big like boxing fan, and I love it when like the main event's about to start and they're still like the national anthems are going and they're showing like the fighters like in their locker room still like shadow boxing a little bit, and you're just wondering like what is he thinking about, like what's going on in his head.
Be cool.
What is going on in your head in the warm-up area, Dallin?
As little as possible.
Yeah. Do you joke before, like in that moment? Are you one of the guys who's kind of joking around, or you are silent?
It depends. I do try and keep it light. I think after one of the years at Wadapalooza, early on when I'd like first been doing individual stuff, for whatever reason, I just obviously there's a clear reason, but wherever Pat went, I tried to go. Like in the warm-up area, I wanted to warm up next to Pat. Corrals, like I'm kind of following him around, pulling from his energy, like trying to figure out like how he ticks, all of that stuff, and just he is definitely lighter, but he's very serious, and I found that works really well for me as well, and so I try and surround myself with the people that can put off that energy.
Here's the I'm like inside holding a laugh, because this is the real question people want to know is before an event, do you have to like piss or shit yourself constantly? Like, are you constantly running to the restroom?
Yeah, the athlete control know me. I mean, they know everybody does that, but like I'll be like running past them to go to the bathroom, and they're like hitting their watch like, you got 2 minutes. Like, yeah,
Dude, I'm laughing because when I was at the E semi last year on a team, she's gonna kill me for saying this, but one of my female teammates by day 3, she was like crying to me. She was like, "I'm so nervous that I constantly have to shit. My asshole is so raw from constantly wiping."
You want to know? So, yeah, like this is like related to that, but also like what goes into the preparation of like. So this is a long story, there's so many different things, but one, the best thing you can buy for $100 is a bidet attachment. Like easily the best $100 I've ever spent. 2, leading into a competition, I have to stop using that, or at the competition, my ass is raw, right? Because you don't have a bidet there.
You
So
need to bring a portable one with you.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to prep in the weeks.
Dude, it'll give Matt Torres something to do when he's waiting for you.
Exactly. Fill up the bidet.
I mean, I wouldn't have like I never know where these conversations are going to go. I'll be honest with you.
You said there was no plan.
No, exactly. And it's always fascinating to see where they go. And sometimes you have an idea. You're like, oh, we might talk about this. We might talk about that. You know, when you started talking about Game of Thrones, okay, that, you know, I wouldn't, you could have been that, could have been Star Wars, could have been Marvel, you know.
Yeah.
One of these franchises, fair enough, fine. Us finding out that for you, the best investment people can make is in a bidet attachment. Like, I wasn't expecting that. It's
Absolutely.
Great. It's great to hear.
Like, yeah, I have the Tushy one, $100. You can splurge a little bit if you go like $130. You get the one that you can control the temperature. Don't really need that in Florida, but if you live somewhere cold, I would recommend that.
Looking for a sponsorship?
I tried last year.
Oh, did you?
I tried tagging them in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know how Instagram friendly you can make sort of stories and reels with that. That's
yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm tagging.
I could come up with something. Something.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Do you ever have like because at least for me when I'm pooping in public restrooms and like I feel the water splash back on my butt, like does that freak you out like right before an event? Like would that throw your mental game off?
Or do you just think they've installed a bidet when you weren't looking?
Yeah.
You know.
No, it doesn't really. I try and get that out of the way, the poops out of the way before the actual warm-up starts. Sometimes you don't have any control, but.
Have you ever experimented with like a new supplement and like no, and you're like,
everything I do all year is the exact same.
Because like Taylor, because I kind of dabble in his Sentinel training, and he's talked a lot about sodium bicarbonate in like a chat group. So I started taking sodium bicarbonate, and like on the 3rd day, I just have the fucking worst case of like Mexican milkshakes every time I take it. So I'm like I'm almost wondering if I should just stop taking it because I
tried it once before a run, and I was like, I don't think I'll do this again.
Nice. Did you dry scoop it?
I mixed it in with some Relight, like a salt supplement.
Dude, because that's the worst tasting thing I've ever had in my life.
It's so bad. Even the salt didn't help.
No, it's terrible.
Yeah.
There you go. So when you talked earlier about working on your weaknesses, is this one of the weaknesses you were working on? Just how can I control myself? Okay.
Exactly. Well, gotta take everything into consideration.
I mean, obviously, like, wow, this is why we need the camera in the warm-up area. Like, that's what you want to be doing. How many people
go to the bathroom?
Well, not just you, but like,
there goes Dallin again.
Well, I'd want to know if Dallin's the only person. Like, that's what I'd be interested in.
No
it's
way.
Like, well, now we know. Dallin's come on here and he's admitted it. He's told us this is his routine.
I've heard the girls are worse.
Yeah.
Is that true, Dallin? You want to back that up?
Honestly, I want to like. It would be so interesting for people to see the different dynamic between the women before an event and the men, and like in the warm-up area.
It is dramatically different.
Complete opposite.
Is that the same for like each heat, or so? Who? So I was talking with Alex Kazan. She was about like last year at the games. Like initially, everyone's very friendly and very kind of, they're all sort of getting on in the warm-up area
Yeah.
beforehand. And then as she's creeping up the leaderboard and, she's now in like the top 10, top 5, it's like suddenly becomes very cold in the warm-up area. Maybe people aren't as fun and friendly. So I'm interested to know if like those bottom heats where they're kind of already knowing that like cuts are about to happen and we're probably going home, are they still quite, friendly and then it gets colder, or is it just a stark difference, men and women throughout?
I think it's complete difference, men and women throughout, but also I do know as like you progress through the heats of the women, it definitely changes more and more.
Is that the same for the men? Like, does it change as you get to the higher heats, or are you guys the same?
I mean,
across the board?
in the
well, hold on. Let me answer.
No, he's never been in lower heats.
Boy, I was right there with you. I was like, oh, hold on. Let me answer that question myself. Dan says, well, I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah, no. I mean, if you look at the top heat, at least for me, I've gotten to know most of the guys pretty well. You got Pat, Brant, Jeff, like all these guys Jason, who are gonna goof around a little bit. There will be jokes, but like once we're in the corrals, we're pretty locked in. Every once in a while, someone will say something, and everyone will laugh, and then it's like 5 seconds later, back to focus. But
yeah. So we all hear 3, 2, 1, go, but it's actually like 5, 4, and the 5, 4 is kind of that last little bit of joking, and then it's like 3, 2, 1. Now, now forget all of that. Okay. I mean, we've got to talk maybe quickly about like, you've said cuts aren't a problem. You're not concerned about cuts.
Yeah.
You finished top 5 last. But you finished 5th. So technically top 5, yeah. But you finished 5th.
You call it top 5.
yeah. You were somewhere in the top 5. Could be first. Exactly. I'm not sure. I have to pull up something and check. But like going back now, do you feel like more pressure or more confidence, or like there's only it's always like jumping from like a top 20 to a top 10 is hard.
Yeah.
But getting from like a top 10 to a top 5 is even harder. And then going up when you're in the top 5 is like, the difference between 5th and 4th and 3rd. It's like, it's a real fight, right?
Yeah.
What's the mindset going in? What's come in, give them a mic. Tag out, poor boy. We want to hear from somewhere else. I just kind of curious to know like where you're at mentally now going in, like how, I mean, finishing second at semifinals has got to feel good.
Yeah. I think I definitely like I value momentum a lot. I don't think if I don't have any, I can't come back, but I enjoy having the momentum. I know it's so different as a team, but I've always competed like at the highest and with a target on my back, and I don't hate that. Like I enjoy it because I can pull from it in different ways. There's no extra pressure outside other than like the pressure I put on myself to show up in the best shape I can and be as fit as I can, and then also execute because that's a huge part. And then like with this year, like obviously the goal is to get on the podium. But I heard Brent talk about this too, but like I'm not oblivious to the fact that this is the deepest men's field. And in my opinion, there's probably 7, 8 guys that could finish in any order. And it wouldn't be like surprising to see whoever is at the top, but it's like, oh, they finished 7th? That's crazy. But if they were like, it could be any guy, and it's like, oh, that's so low. But then you look who beat them, and it's like, oh, well, I guess I don't have any argument there. So it is going to come down to execution. As much as people say, like, you can't let the programming affect, like, it does. Like, we're all aware of that. And I think it's very different than it used to be. Like, programming does affect it. And then, who's healthy? I think that's another very difficult thing for a lot of people. And I feel like I do that very well. So there's so many factors that can go into it. And so just focusing on what I can do and put myself in the best position to land in the top 3 will be the goal.
Yeah. How good did it feel beating Krennikov at semifinals?
It was amazing. The way it all played out with the event win to the jump in by 1 spot or whatever, 3 points, like it was a great ending.
Yeah.
Get a point at him a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, especially after that line of like, oh, Dallin made mistakes. That was just Yeah, on
Do you
an
ever get-
interesting workout as well.
Dallin, do you ever get kind of like ticked off when you hear names of athletes who could win the games and you don't ever necessarily hear yours? Like you hear like, oh, Justin could win it, or Ricky Garrard could win it, Roman could win it, Jeff could repeat.
Uh,
Or you just stay silent like a lasagna, like a G.
yeah, like a G. I guess it's like the same as if like someone were to say that I was gonna win. Like, no offense to any of like the analysts or podcasters, but like, if you think I win, great. If you think I'm gonna take 15th, great. Like, your opinion doesn't really change anything for me. So I don't think I get ticked off if they say other people are gonna win. And like, sure, like I expect myself to. Trying to think how to word this. Like, say what I'm thinking. It's never bad when the media is predicting you high. Like that's only beneficial to myself, like the brand I'm creating, like the hype, the story, like all these things. But it doesn't really bother me if people think otherwise. It's just my job to prove them wrong, right?
That's true. Now, given the opposite, would you feel like it would add unnecessary pressure? Let's say hypothetically, if it was the opposite and people were like saying like, this is Dallin's year to win the games, would you rather them kind of like back off that because it's putting pressure, or do you welcome that type of pressure?
I'll welcome it. I feel like I do a good job at like limiting what pressure I let in and in what way, and making sure it's at least contributing positively to my training and my mindset and that type of thing. And if it's starting to be negative, I feel like I'm pretty good at shutting it out.
Would it upset you more that people don't say that you're gonna like podium or that you're not gonna win, or that they don't specify but they just keep saying that Jason will beat you?
Oh man, Jason likes to play this game where he says, "Would you?" I gotta remember what places he used. He said, "It's something like, would you rather you take fourth and me take third, Jason taking third, or you take 10th and I take seventh?"
Right.
So it's like, does he? Or sorry, let me rephrase. I take eighth and he takes 10th. So
Right,
it's like
yeah.
I beat him by 2 spots, but we're way lower, or he beats me by a spot to get on the podium, but I still take fourth. So he likes to play that. He always plays that game. It's
What's
like
the answer to that question?
stupid questions like that. I mean, I have to take like the fourth.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not dumb. Like, I know the paycheck from fourth to
All right,
10.
there you go.
Like, I know all those things. So yeah.
So yeah, take fourth. I'll get the money. I'll invest that money myself, and then next year I'm on the podium in first.
Well, would you rather take second if he takes first?
Oh, I don't know if I can stand Jason winning.
That's that's the $1 million question.
If Jason won the games and you took second or third and you were on the podium next to him, would you push him off?
I would at least stand on the top with him. Hold the check together. We're splitting that.
Or here's the other question: who would you rather see win the games, Jason or Taylor?
Taylor.
Damn.
Because he's not
Jason
even
or Roman?
Jason
or Roman? Jason.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I'll clip that. I'll send it to both of them. We'll see who gets back to me. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Well, thanks, Dallin. It's been fun.
Yeah. It's been a great time.
And thank you to Mike, poor boy. Feels weird to call you Mike. I've never heard anyone do it, but
I rarely hear people call me Mike also, but I appreciate it.
But it is your name. So
it is my name.
Now and again, I've got to do it. Usually at this point, I tell people who's coming on next. But because I'm away Friday, Saturday, Sunday at UK Champs, I haven't actually finalized booking people in. But will probably be Monday. Might be Ant Haynes, actually, but I'm not 100% sure. But I've got a few people in the pipeline. Don't worry. It might be Jason Hopper. Who knows? Maybe Dallin will tell him he's got to come on the show. We live in hope.
Put in a word.
Put in a word. Yeah. I've not asked him, but I will now.
Yeah.
I see. Oh, you got to hear all the things Dallin said about you on this show, and you got to come in. And I actually really enjoyed you sending people to watch your interview with Dave Castro, just to make sure more people watched it than with Harper. So
A win's a win. A win's
Yeah.
a win.
Okay. Carson, Jason, enjoy your 4th of July. I was trying to book people in and like forgot that 4th of July is obviously a big thing in America. So I was like giving people dates and I was like, oh, yeah, I could do it like this Thursday, or if you want, then the next one. And I was like, and it wasn't until I kind of put down the date of what that day was.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, hold on. I think in America, people might be busy.
Might be busy.
You know, I'm
The
not.
greatest holiday.
That's right, America.
Okay. And on that note, we got to end. Thanks, Dallin. All the best with the final prep for the games, and you know, absolutely crushing the games this year, and embarrassing Jason, you know, destroying Roman. Who knows? It will be a big fight between you and Adler, who's the only name I can mention at the moment because he won last year, so he's the only person I'm going to continue to talk about. You know, having strong potential. And Paul Boy, all the best in you know, cheering on Dallin at the games. I know you'll be doing that at the top of your voice. So
I will, man. You'll hear me all the way from California. I promise.
Perfect.
Yeah.
As long as you Team Pepper over Team Hopper.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, do I save this for if I ever do speak to Jason? I mean, my only real issue with Jason isn't actually his fault because he can't spell his name correctly. But that was, you know, that wasn't actually him that chose the spelling. So it's kind of a weird situation to be in. But anyway, we need another taste test down this time. Don't say the answer right. Okay. All right. Enjoy your 4th of July. All right. I'm not gonna get distracted by the comments at the end now. Thank you though for everyone that left comments, asked questions. I might scroll back and read some of them later. Who knows? I might go to bed because it is 10 o'clock. But we'll see. One of the two. Thanks, guys, and hopefully I'll see some other people here next week. Maybe. Who knows? And